If you're here right now, pause for a moment and really listen, because this message did not find you by accident. Out of all the noise, all the content, all the distractions competing for your attention, something pulled you here at this exact time. That pull wasn't random. It wasn't curiosity. It was alignment. This is not motivation meant for everyone. This is confirmation meant for someone specific. And if you're hearing these words, that someone is you. You've felt it long before this moment, the pressure that built without explanation, the weight you've carried silently while the world kept moving, the seasons where nothing seemed to change no matter how hard you tried, the silence when you asked for answers and received none, the waiting when it felt like life pressed pause on you while everyone else pressed fast forward. That confusion, that loneliness, that quiet frustration, it wasn't imaginary, and it wasn't meaningless. Because what you experienced wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every delay was intentional. Every closed door redirected you. Every moment where you felt unseen was shaping something deeper within you. You were being trained in patience when others were being trained in speed. You were being taught endurance while others were being given shortcuts. And it didn't feel fair because it wasn't meant to feel comfortable. It was meant to make you capable. There were nights you questioned yourself, moments you wondered if you missed your chance, if you waited too long, if you were asking for something that simply wasn't meant for you. But even in your doubt, something inside you refused to give up. You kept going without proof. You kept believing without evidence. You kept showing up when no one was watching. That wasn't weakness. That was quiet strength forming. And here's what you need to understand now. This moment right here is a signal. Not a coincidence, not a distraction, a signal. You are not early, you are not late. You are exactly where you need to be. The stillness you're in, it's the calm before movement. The silence you're feeling, it's space being cleared. The waiting you're experiencing, it's something aligning beyond what you can see. So take a breath. Let your shoulders relax. You don't need to rush this part. You don't need to force anything. This message isn't here to push you. It's here to remind you. What felt like delay was protection. What felt like loss was redirection. What felt like nothing happening was everything happening beneath the surface. This is not the end of your waiting, but it is the end of your confusion. You were being prepared, and now you're being called to listen. You've been in a season that few people truly understand. A season where effort didn't equal reward, where time kept passing but your breakthrough didn't arrive. You felt behind in life, not because you were lazy, not because you lacked ability, but because your path moved at a different pace. While others celebrated milestones, you stayed quiet. While names were being called, yours was skipped. And you learned how to smile through it, even when it hurt. You've watched others rise first, people who started after you. People who seemed less prepared, less disciplined, less aware. You saw opportunities land in their hands while you were still waiting for yours to open. And in those moments, you questioned yourself. You wondered if you were invisible, if you were overlooked, if something was wrong with you. But what you couldn't see then was what was happening beneath the surface. Because all that time you were carrying weight others couldn't see, pressure others were never asked to hold. You were developing strength in silence, endurance in isolation, clarity in the dark. And the waiting, it wasn't wasted time. It was building something steady inside you, something unshakable. You were misunderstood, underestimated, reduced to what people could see on the surface. They didn't know the battles you fought alone, the discipline you maintained without applause, the faith you held onto when results were nowhere in sight. But here's the truth they never realized. You weren't being ignored. You weren't falling behind. You were being hidden because you were being protected.
There is a difference between those who arrive early and those who arrive ready. And this is where your story begins to separate from the ordinary. Chosen ones do not move early. They don't rush to prove themselves. They don't take every door just because it opens. Their path looks slow from the outside, misunderstood, even questionable, but it is deliberate. Because timing matters more than speed, and alignment matters more than attention. What you experienced was not delay in the way the world understands it. It was not rejection. It was not life forgetting about you. Delay does not mean denial. Delay means development. It means something in you needed to grow before what you were asking for could safely arrive. Because receiving something before you're prepared doesn't bless you, it breaks you. While others were moving quickly, you were being shaped deeply. While they were collecting experiences, you were developing discernment. While they were being celebrated, you were being strengthened. You were learning how to stand alone, how to think clearly, how to move without applause. And that kind of strength can only be built in quiet places. You weren't ignored. You weren't overlooked. You were isolated, removed from environments that would have limited you, separated from people who couldn't go where you're going, protected from attachments that felt good in the moment but would have cost you everything later. Isolation wasn't punishment, it was precision. It was the narrowing of your path so you wouldn't lose yourself trying to fit into spaces you were never meant to stay in. There were moments you wanted to be seen, moments you wondered why your efforts weren't recognized, why your consistency wasn't rewarded, why your name wasn't called. But visibility without stability is dangerous, and influence without identity is destructive. So you were kept hidden, not because you lacked value, but because your value was still increasing. Pressure did the work that comfort never could. Pressure revealed who you really are. It forced you to confront your fears, your doubts, your habits, your limits. It stretched you beyond what you thought you could handle. And every time you survived something that was supposed to break you, your capacity expanded. You became stronger without becoming harder, wiser without becoming bitter. And this is the part most people miss. What's coming into your life requires a version of you that didn't exist yet. The earlier version of you would have rushed it. The untested version of you would have mishandled it. The distracted version of you would have lost it. But the version of you that exists now, the one shaped by waiting, refined by pressure, and strengthened by solitude, is capable of sustaining what's about to arrive. That is why the process took so long. That is why the road felt lonely. That is why nothing moved when you wanted it to. Chosen ones are delayed, not denied. Their preparation is invisible, but their arrival is undeniable. And when your season opens, it won't need explanation. People won't understand how it happened so quickly because they didn't see the years it took to become who you are now. You didn't miss your moment. You were being built for it. Now, slow down. Take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. This moment is not asking you to push. It's not asking you to prove anything. It's asking you to rest. And that might feel unfamiliar to you because you've spent so long surviving, holding things together, staying ready. But hear this clearly. Rest is not retreat. Rest is strategic. You are standing in a rare space, a pause that doesn't come often, a quiet that exists not because nothing is happening, but because everything is aligning. This stillness is intentional. It's the calm before acceleration, the space before movement. And once it passes, life will not slow down in the same way again. This is the last pause. Not the end of your journey, just the end of the waiting you've known. Soon, movement will be constant. Decisions will come faster. Opportunities will stack. Responsibilities will increase. And the pace of your life will shift in ways you can't fully imagine yet. That's why this moment matters. This breath matters. This quiet matters. Rest now, not because you're weak, but because you're about to be needed. Needed with clarity, needed with strength, needed with a steady mind and an open heart. What's coming will ask more of you than anything before it, not in struggle, but in presence. You won't just be moving for yourself anymore. Your energy, your focus, your decisions will matter. And that requires fullness, not exhaustion. So let go of the urge to rush. Release the guilt for slowing down. You've earned this stillness. You've carried enough. You've pushed long enough. This is not the moment to grind. It's the moment to restore, to breathe deeply, to reconnect with yourself, to feel peace without questioning it. Because once the door opens, it opens wide. And when the season shifts, it shifts quickly. The silence will be replaced with sound, the waiting with movement, the isolation with connection. And there will be days when you look back at this quiet moment and realize it was the last time everything was simple.
So be present here. Let yourself rest without fear. Let the calm settle into you. This is the last pause, and it exists to prepare you, not for struggle, but for purpose. There is something you wanted once, something you held quietly in your heart before the world taught you to be careful with hope. A wish you spoke about less and less, not because you stopped believing in it, but because you learned how painful it was to keep explaining it to people who couldn't see what you saw. So you grew silent. You carried it alone, and eventually you stopped talking about it altogether. But listen to this closely. A thing you stopped talking about, it didn't disappear. It didn't fade. It wasn't forgotten. It didn't pass you by while you were trying to survive. It stayed with you, even when you doubted it, even when you told yourself you were being unrealistic, even when you tried to convince yourself that wanting it less would hurt less. What you didn't know was that it was still moving, quietly, steadily, toward you. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. Everything you've been through has been shifting you into the right position. Every delay adjusted your angle. Every ending refined your direction. Every moment of stillness brought you into closer harmony with what you asked for. You weren't waiting for it to arrive. You were being aligned to receive it. And that's why it feels different now. You're not restless the way you used to be. You're not desperate. You're not forcing. There's a calm in you that wasn't there before. A quiet readiness. That's the sign most people miss. When something is far away, it creates anxiety. When it's close, it creates peace. It's closer than you think. Not measured in time, but in readiness. Not marked by dates, but by alignment. The distance between you and what you desire has been shrinking, not because you ran toward it, but because you became someone it could finally meet without resistance. And here's the most important part. You won't have to chase it. You've chased enough in your life. You've overextended, overexplained, overworked, and overgiven. But this isn't something you pursue in exhaustion. This is something that recognizes you, something that responds to who you've become, something that moves toward you when the moment is right. It will meet you. It will arrive naturally, quietly, almost gently. And when it does, it won't feel shocking. It will feel familiar, like something that always belonged to you, just arriving at the correct time. You won't need to announce it. You won't need to prove anything. You'll simply know. And in that moment, you'll understand why it took so long, why every delay mattered, why every version of you before this one wasn't ready. You didn't imagine the pull. You didn't misread the signs. You didn't wait for nothing. Your wish is real. It's aligned, and it's coming. Now listen carefully, because this part matters more than the promise itself. What's coming into your life is not small, and because it isn't small, it cannot land on an unprepared foundation. Blessings don't just bring relief, they bring responsibility. They don't just change circumstances, they expose character. And this is where many people misunderstand what they ask for. What's coming will amplify who you already are. It will magnify your discipline or your distractions, your integrity or your ego, your clarity or your chaos. This is why not everyone survives their breakthrough. Some people pray for elevation but collapse under visibility. Some ask for abundance but lose themselves in access. Some receive everything they wanted and discover too late that they never built the inner structure to hold it. The blessing didn't ruin them, it revealed them. That's why the process mattered so much. That's why you were slowed down. That's why things didn't arrive when you begged for them to. You weren't just being prepared to receive, you were being prepared to sustain. So stay clean, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Be mindful of what you consume, what you entertain, what you tolerate. Not everything that feels good is aligned, and not everyone who wants access deserves proximity. This next season will require discernment more than effort, discipline more than force. Stay focused.
The closer you get, the more distractions will appear disguised as opportunities. The noise will increase, opinions will multiply, old habits will try to reintroduce themselves. This is not the time to drift. This is not the time to compromise. This is not the time to rush. Stay aligned. Stay clear. Protection is still active even now. Doors are still being filtered. People are still being removed. Delays may still happen not to frustrate you, but to guard what's ahead. Don't mistake patience for stagnation. Don't mistake silence for absence. And don't pressure what's already moving toward you. What you're walking into is sacred. Treat it that way. Because when it arrives, it won't ask if you're ready. It will assume you are. This message ends here, but your season doesn't. Something has shifted. You felt it before you heard it, a quiet knowing, a subtle calm, a sense that the weight you've been carrying is finally starting to lift. You didn't imagine that. You didn't misread it. The change is real. You are standing at the edge of a new chapter, one that doesn't need to be announced, explained, or defended. It will speak for itself, and when it does, you won't need validation. You'll have clarity. So take this moment with you. Hold the stillness, honor the quiet, rest while you can. Your wish is coming. And when it arrives, you'll understand why it took so long.